This is incredibly concerning to me. Not because he's going to miss time. I don't care about that. This is his 4th surgery on his right knee. Russ was a guy who famously never missed a game in junior high, in high school, in college, in his first few years in the NBA. And then in game 1 of the Western Conference playoffs a few years ago, they're playing the Rockets. They call timeout, and Patrick Beverley tries to steal the ball from him and runs into his leg. They were the 1 seed at the time. He ends up being knocked out there. Since then, he's had 4 procedures on that same knee. And the fact that we saw Russ play in highlights, right? Just the other night.
Yeah.
Where we saw him on the show in the gym. I forgot who he drove by.
CJ.
Drove by CJ McCollum. Good recall, Jenna. Thank you. And the fact that he's having this now says something went wrong. Russ turns 30 this year. There's not a player in the league more reliant on explosive athleticism. There's not a player in the league that I think's game will age worse than Russ's. And he just has to hold off aging because he's not a great shooter. He's not super efficient. He is just a super freak athlete. So when I saw this news, this is one of my favorite players. It's really concerning because if he even loses 10% of that fast twitch, then he is a totally different guy on a super max contract.
I'm concerned about the injury, and Nikki, you and I talked about it. It's a big point that you're making as far as we saw him practicing where he was almost a full. I mean, he made an unbelievable step-through move and dunked on a bunch of people in the lane. Now, that was with the knee. So what's been happening as he gets ready for the season, because we're too close to the season, there's only 2 things could have happened. That the knee was injured. He's already had 3 surgeries on it, and he thought that the rest and some rehab would heal the knee. Obviously, it didn't. Or he re-injured it recently while he was playing. Those are the 2 things. Now, the way I can take away some of your concern is if Russ does this. If OKC, if they allow him to take his time coming back, don't rush him back, allow him to miss some games or whatever he needs to till he's healthy. Because trying to play on that gimpy knee and then trying to make it to May playing basketball late into the playoffs, those 2 things I don't believe go together. And they do have a competent guard that they can play. They got Schroeder
in the Melo trade.
They got him.
Yeah.
He is a NBA starting point guard. Russ, don't rush yourself back. And this is going to be the most critical time for Russ's career. It wasn't when KD and them left. He went on to win the MVP. So, because he's already done that. The most important now was how does he grow his game? Does he increase his jump shot? Does he make his jump shot get better? Does he start to learn like the other elite athletes? He's the best athlete in the NBA.
Yes.
That's why his knees are going to affect him. But the other great athletes that we've seen, other great players that were great athletes, they adjusted at 30. Yeah. They got a little post-up game. They didn't play the game as just
angry,
chaotic.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't have to play as hard as Russ plays. So it's up to OKC because you know the athlete. The athlete's going to want to go. But you got to be able to help him out by putting the other guard in there and have Russ take some time to heal.
See, it's a great point you bring up that they actually have a backup point guard this year in Schroeder. They didn't last year. It was an underrated part of the offseason. We all thought they were just going to have to give Melo away. Atlanta wanted to get off Schroeder's money, so they brought him in. But something Russ, whether he becomes a better shooter or not, the thing that I admire so much about his game is what he's going to have to tamper down. He has the Kevin Garnett in him, which is you watch film of Russ, you do not know if it is Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals or if it is February 3rd. And like that is inspiring, but it's not smart once you get on the other side of 30. You've got to be able to have different gears. He never has. I hope they give him the time as well to rehab for this.